大家好, I'm Nathan Rich, aka 火锅大王. Today I want to explore the question, should we be calling COVID-19 the Chinese virus? Bill Maher is a political commentator / comedian who's been famous for a long time. I've never really been a huge fan of his, but he's said a lot of pretty interesting things and he's kind of funny. So let's take a look at what Bill Maher has to say.
You can't yell at someone for breaking a rule you just made up.
The WHO back in 2015 released guidance on how to name diseases and viruses, basically saying don't name it after any people, place, or country or anything like that because it does stigmatize those things. Just name it something scientific that people can say. So this isn't a new rule. This is, I guess 5 years ago, maybe that's new. I don't know.
Scientists have been naming diseases after the places they came from for a very long time.
So here's where the fun begins. First, Bill Maher suggests that if something has been happening for a long time, it is therefore okay and acceptable, which is completely ridiculous. So let's hear some examples from Bill on diseases that were named where they came from.
Zika is from the Zika forest.
Right off the bat, he starts with the Zika virus, which is named after a forest. And the Zika forest is in Uganda. Didn't know that? Don't you think that's interesting? Why didn't you know where it was? So are you saying we should change the Zika virus to Uganda virus? This is not the name of a people or a country. This is the name of a forest that no one knows where it is.
Ebola from the Ebola River.
Ebola from the Ebola River. Pop quiz. Where's the Ebola River? You do realize that Ebola is also not a country or a city or a people, right? The reason that they named this virus after a river is very interesting. They didn't find the virus at the Ebola River, nor did the outbreak start at the Ebola River. They named it after that river specifically because they didn't want to stigmatize the people of the town where they found the virus. This is actually defeating your point.
Hantavirus, the Hantan River.
And where's the Hantan River, Bill? No normal human knows where the Hantan River is. It's in South Korea. So are you saying we should call this the South Korea virus, or what are you talking about?
There's the West Nile virus.
Because the outbreak started in Uganda, we should also call this one the Uganda virus. Is that what you're saying? How many Uganda viruses do you want?
Guinea worm.
And now you're talking about the guinea worm, but the guinea worm was described in Egypt. So that should be an Egyptian worm. So why is it called the guinea worm? Well, because it was first identified in the Guinea coast. So are you changing it now so that we shouldn't name diseases and worms after where they're from, but where they were identified?
Rocky Mountain spotted fever.
Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Oh, you mean the United States fever, right?
The Spanish flu.
The Spanish flu. I thought we were naming things after where they came from. The leading theory on where the Spanish flu came from is the United States. So do you mean the United States flu? Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about where they were first identified. So the Spanish flu, you should be calling the United Kingdom flu. Why are you calling this the Spanish flu, Bill? You don't like Spanish people or something?
MERS stands for Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome.
So weird that you had to explain what MERS stood for, Bill. It's almost like nobody knows that. And again, it started in Saudi Arabia and it was identified in the Netherlands. So should we call this Merzerlands? Saudi Merzia? No, wait. Saudi Arabia Respiratory Syndrome, or SARS for short. There's nothing confusing about that at all, right?
So why should China get a pass?
It shouldn't. China should not get a pass. Literally every single example you've shown us doesn't support the concept of naming a disease after a country because that's where it came from. You do realize that, right? This disease and every disease from 2015 on should be named in accordance with the guidelines. In fact, we should probably rename a lot of these old ones that are confusing as hell because people like you think that the guinea worm is from Guinea. And the thing is, even if those were examples of diseases being named after a country and a people, that still doesn't mean we should break protocol to keep doing it for no reason.
Congressman Ted Lieu tweeted, "The virus is not constrained by country or race. Be just as stupid to call it the Milan virus." No, that would be way stupider because it didn't come from Milan.
That would be so stupid, Bill. That'd be like calling the United States Kansas flu the Spanish flu, or the Egyptian worm the guinea worm. What kind of an idiot would do that? I guess somebody who just hires interns to do their research for them, huh? What an idiot.
And if it did, I guarantee we'd be calling it the Milan virus.
You guarantee that, do you? Well, none of the examples you've given have shown any evidence that that's the case. None of them were a city where the virus had originated. Zero. So what are you even talking about, Bill? Do you even listen to yourself?
Can't we even have a pandemic without getting offended?
Why are they getting offended? I don't know. Why are you going out of your way to do this? Why are you putting so much energy into changing a normal word into something different that stigmatizes people when you have yet to show any precedence? And even if there was precedence, the guidelines have changed, and you have yet to show any reason to do so other than you apparently don't like Chinese people.
When they named Lyme disease after a town in Connecticut, the locals didn't get all ticked off.
Do you mean the Native American disease? Because Lyme disease, as you're calling it, has been around way longer than the United States. I'm really looking forward to your statement on how much you really want to get rid of the Native American disease. And I just love how you squeezed in that little ridiculous fallacy that, well, these people weren't offended by something, according to me, and so nobody can be offended by that thing. Are you just the product of nobody questioning you for 30 years or what, dude?
It scares me that there are people out there who would rather die from the virus than call it by the wrong name.
What? What are you talking about? Who is out there that would rather die from a virus than call it the wrong name? Do you not have anyone that checks what you're writing down? This is the most ridiculous thing I've probably ever heard. If you call COVID-19 COVID-19, you'll die? Is that what you're saying here? Or is this real? What the fuck are you talking about?
This isn't about vilifying a culture.
You're going out of your way to change the medical community's name for a disease to reflect people and a culture for unknown reasons based on examples of diseases that don't do that. And then you're saying, but it's not to vilify them. Then why are you doing it?
This is about facts.
Facts. Okay, finally, you're speaking my language. Here's some facts for you, Bill. The name of the disease is COVID-19. It isn't called the China virus. Here's another fact. Going out of your way to intentionally call COVID-19 one of those types of names needs a motivation. You're doing something out of the ordinary, so why are you doing it? Another fact is, very few, if any of those motivations, are peaceful. Another fact, your examples defeat your argument. I mean, I'm blown away by how stupid this video is. And all the reports that I've seen about it, either they attack him as some racist or they just support him and say, he's right. And none of them seem to notice how absolutely stupid this video is. Here's another fact. Chinese people are affected by stigmatizations. Here's another fact. Nobody is affected by calling a disease its proper name. Do you care about any of these facts? I mean, you're the one who brought up facts. I assume you know what they are, right?
The wet markets in China are already starting to reopen. It's not racist to point out that eating bats is batshit crazy.
I'm sorry, do you care about facts or not, Bill? Because, I mean, other than the fact that we know some Americans eat bats, there are zero facts that prove that this outbreak has anything to do with eating bats. It's not a fact that eating bats is common in Wuhan. It's not a fact that bats were sold at the Huanan market. Did you even know that? It's not a fact that any of the bat videos that you've seen online have anything to do with this outbreak. The most popular one wasn't even in China. The only fact that I hear is that you're rambling about facts without having any.
What if people hear Chinese virus and blame China? The answer is we should blame China, not Chinese Americans.
Oh, not Chinese Americans, just Chinese people. They should be blamed for the virus. Do you hear yourself, Bill? Because you sound extremely hawkish right now. I mean, you do realize that by your logic, we should be blaming the United States for AIDS, right? No? Why? It's completely logically consistent with what you just said. So what should we do about that, Bill? What should we do to American citizens because of AIDS? I mean, other than renaming it the United States. How should we punish them? I mean, not Americans in China, obviously.
We can't stop telling the truth because racists get the wrong idea. There are always going to be idiots out there who want to indulge their prejudices.
You can talk about facts. You can say, hey, COVID-19 came from China. No one cares. No one's complaining about that. But when you go out of your way to change that away from different facts to what you consider true, which is that we should be blaming Chinese people, but not American Chinese. And by the way, Chinese Americans are just called Americans, unless you're talking about race. You understand that, right? If you say Chinese American, you're talking about an American citizen who is of a Chinese ethnicity. What you've just said is we should blame everyone of a certain race unless they're our citizens. Maybe that's not what you meant, but that's what you just said.
We can't afford the luxury anymore of non-judginess towards a country with habits that kill millions of people everywhere, because this isn't the first time.
What? Okay, let's get some millions of people examples. I want to see these millions of people that were killed.
SARS came from China.
Oh my God, SARS. What was that? 100 million? 200 million? Oh, it wasn't even 1,000. Okay, well, we've got a long way to go, but I'm looking forward to the rest of these millions. The next number is definitely going to have at least 100 million, right?
And the bird flu.
The bird flu? The bird flu from Italy that broke out in the United Kingdom?
And the Hong Kong flu.
Again, Hong Kong was part of the United Kingdom when that happened. I thought we were naming this after the countries that something originated in. That was the United Kingdom.
The Asian flu. Viruses come from China like...
I'm sorry, dude, what happened to the millions of people? Huh? You just said millions of people, dude. What am I missing? And you just move right past it. Why is no one calling this guy on his BS?
If they were selling nuclear suitcases at these wet markets, would we be so non-judgmental? And isn't this pretty close to what they are selling?
You know what, dude? I give up. Go ahead, call it the Chinese virus. All I ask is that we just use the same naming scheme for all diseases, okay? So let's just name every disease to the country that we first knew about it, or first case, or whatever we can find about it, okay? And we're gonna have to start renaming a lot of diseases. Like Alzheimer's becomes Greasheimer's, anthrax becomes Franthrax, botulism becomes Germanachulism, cholera becomes India-olera, and you got me, German measles stays German measles. So there's one, Bill. We can name gonorrhea China-rhea. The United States even loses one. The California Valley fever, we can just start calling that Argentever. Group A streptococcal infection will become United States infection, or United States cock infection, whatever you want. Chlamydia becomes Russia-midia. Rabies becomes Iraqis. Marburg virus becomes yet another Uganda virus. Syphilis becomes Italyphilus. Tetanus, Germanius. Salmonella becomes Spainanella. Zika becomes Ugandica. Toxic shock syndrome becomes Toxic United States syndrome. Sickle cell disease, Sickle cell United States disease. Norovirus becomes Denmark virus. Let's go with the other standard. Let's name things after where the virus was identified. That makes perfect sense. So Ebola becomes Democratic Republic of the Congobola. German measles becomes United Steezels. Chlamydia becomes Portugalidia. Bubonic plague becomes the United Bubonic Kingdom of Plague. As we talked about, AIDS becomes United States. H1N1 becomes the United States flu. Japanese encephalitis becomes United Kingdom phalitis. Lou Gehrig's disease becomes United States disease. Lyme disease, United States disease. I mean, hopefully you're not getting lost here. Salmonella, United States Ella. SARS then becomes Vietnars. Smallpox becomes United Kingpox. Typhoid fever becomes Germanoid fever. I mean, do you see any problems with this, Bill? Is this sounding good to you? And did you notice, Bill, only one of these, one that I could find, was actually named after the place that it was found. One. So your weird argument as to why you should change protocol and deliberately go out of your way to stigmatize an entire people while saying that you're not trying to do that, your entire argument is based on non-facts. I mean, why should any of these countries get a break, Bill? Or you know what? Here's an amazing idea, Bill. Instead of going through this huge, confusing process of trying to identify a way to attach these diseases to people, I don't know, why don't we just have this group of people who are experts in something who can come up with a way to not stigmatize others and also have a name for diseases? It shall be an organization of the Earth Health. OEH. No. Who could do that, Bill? Who could we get to do that? I wonder WHO could do that for us, Bill. I mean, if only somebody had given us some advice 5 fucking years ago on how to deal with this, we wouldn't all be talking about why you're trying so hard to attach diseases to people. Well, I don't know, Bill. Email me if you get any ideas on WHO can help us with this. Until then, thanks everybody. 谢谢。